With Godzilla Minus One coming out in the US tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the entire franchise to fill everyone in about Godzilla and his history in 5 minutes. That's right, I'm going to cover the whole franchise, or try to cover the franchise in 5 minutes. Pretty much the entire Godzilla films, and what happened, and what we're going to see next for Godzilla. So, buckle up as we get straight into the movies and the eras of Godzilla. Now, I'm going to say this clear, I'm not doing a reviews here because, well, that's going to be a very long time, and also I don't have the time, so I'm going to do a Godzilla-thon sometime on my channel. Expect sometime in the future I'm going to cover all the Godzilla movies and review them. But anyway, let's talk about the entire history of Godzilla. It all starts in 1945 when the unfortunate events of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed by the US during World War II. It's said that the bombings probably killed around 226,000 people. After the bombings and after World War II ended, Toho decided to make a movie that would be centered around the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. However, this time it would be like a giant dinosaur-like creature. And so this was the birth of Godzilla, also known as Godzilla, which both means gorilla and whale put together. The original Godzilla movie came out in 1954 and was a huge hit in Japan. Later on, the US will get its hands on the original Godzilla movie, but this time will be called Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it starred Raymond Burr in it. Toho didn't decide to rest the brand on the original first Godzilla movie, and so they made a sequel called Godzilla Raids Again, where Godzilla fights Anguirus, pretty much the first ever kaiju on screen for Godzilla to fight. Then in 1962, Godzilla will face against the king himself, Kong, and so King Kong vs. Godzilla came out in Japan in 1962 and was a huge success. Throughout the 60s and 70s, Toho released Godzilla movies each year, and this will star Godzilla and some other kaijus that will be recognizable and famous from the franchise. These includes King Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, and Anguirus, and a bunch more. This series of Godzilla movies was called the Showa series. Each movie would change very differently compared to the original Godzilla movie and its themes, such as Godzilla doing absolute weird stuff and becoming a good guy saving the planet, and also becoming a father. These movies kinda were responsible for making Godzilla into more of a kid-friendly character. Once the 70s hit, lots of the Showa movies weren't really doing too well, so the last movie in the Showa series was Terror Mechagodzilla. After that, Toho took a rest from the franchise until 1984, a whole nearly 10 years later, when The Return of Godzilla came out. This time they returned back to the franchise's roots and made Godzilla into more of an anti-hero. The movie would also get released in 1985, called Godzilla 1985, starring Raymond Burr drinking Dr. Pepper. But anyway, this was the era called the Heisei series now. This is where we enter into the 90s and 80s of Godzilla movies. This time, Godzilla's suit will pretty much be the same throughout the rest of the Heisei series after 84, with this time being more of a canon story throughout the rest of the series. The Heisei series was pretty much its own series throughout the rest of the Godzilla movies. Godzilla will still be an anti-hero, and he'll also have a son as well that will change throughout the rest of the movies. Some of the old iconic monsters will return in the Heisei series, such as King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Mechagodzilla, and Rodan, and some others. There are also some new enemies, such as Space Godzilla and Destroyer, throughout the Heisei series. Godzilla vs. Destroyer will mark as was supposed to be the final movie for Toho for the Godzilla franchise, and was supposed to center around Godzilla dying for good. So, Godzilla died in the movie, and Toho took a break. However, that wasn't until TriStar picked up the Godzilla license and made their own Godzilla movie in 1998. This would be America's first go at Godzilla, and unfortunately, the movie was kind of a disappointment with many Godzilla fans, as the creature pretty much acted nothing like Godzilla. The movie would actually do pretty well at the box office, but unfortunately, this movie would get teared to shreds by critics and many other Godzilla fans. Then Toho decided to return to the franchise after the disappointment of 98 in 1999 with Godzilla 2000. This time, they brought back the classic monster. This series would be known as the Millennium series and will have many other movies that would be very different from each other. It's said that some of the Millennium series aren't actually really connected to any of the other movies and are instead pretty much in their own separate universes. However, in 2004, Godzilla Final Wars came out and will mark the end of the Godzilla movies for its 50th year anniversary. Unfortunately, Final Wars bombed in the box office and Toho took a bit of a break from the franchise for a little while. But of course, that is until Legendary picked up the Godzilla license and we got Godzilla from 2014, America's second attempt at Godzilla, and it absolutely worked. The movie did well in the box office and many people liked it. However, some people felt like Godzilla's screen time wasn't absent in the movie. This will start off Legendary's MonsterVerse films, which will start with King of the Monsters, and Godzilla would fight the king again in Godzilla vs. Kong. And also, Toho got back into the Godzilla license with Shin Godzilla in 2016, which was pretty much a completely different movie to the other Godzilla movies, and it kind of got back into its roots back into 1954. Toho series would be called the Reiwa era, but this time more animes would come out, such as the Monster Planet series, and also Godzilla Singular Point, and also the upcoming Godzilla -1, which I can't wait for. The movie is set in post-World War II Japan, and it looks epic with Godzilla. We're seeing Godzilla destroying buildings and crushing people to death. So, I wonder what they're going to have in store with this new Godzilla movie, and who knows what Toho will do with the Godzilla franchise continuing forward. And plus, we also have Legendary's Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire coming out next year, so that's going to be exciting as well. Despite what you think of the franchise, Godzilla has been one of the most iconic staples in pop culture. And it's been 70 years and Godzilla's movies are still continuing to grow and grow, with more movies coming out each year. So chances are Godzilla will continue to stay on our screens forever. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And as always, I will see you on the next adventure.